Meeple Nation Podcast, episode 521, Cooperative Games.
Welcome, citizens, to Meeple Nation. Grab your favorite beverage, pull up a chair, warm up those dice, and join us at the game table as we discuss board games and the board gaming world. Each week, the hosts of Meeple Nation share their love for board games and the amazing memories that come from playing games with some very outstanding people. Let us now join our hosts in their natural habitat, the game table.
The Meeple Nation podcast is sponsored by Game Toppers LLC. We love our Game Toppers, and so did a whole lot of people at SaltCon.
We sure got a lot of looky-loos, didn't we?
We always do.
Yeah. It was nice this year to have some cards so that we could direct people to Berkey's website. It didn't feel like we were just trying to panhandle something and then they walk away and they forgot what it was. We had something that we could give them if they had interest in it, and Berkey has had the Kickstarter prices still going, so it was great.
You say panhandle. I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Hey, you're probably right. You're absolutely right, in fact. But it's the word that came to my head.
All right.
Which reminds me, funny story. I used to work for RC Willys. I don't know if you knew this or not. I used to work for RC Willys for 16 years.
Wow, 16 years.
When we opened up our store in Vegas, they took some of our sales staff down there to help at that sales store. And they had the panhandlers out, or not the panhandlers, the pamphlet slappers out there that were handing stuff out. And so one of the guys was like, this is where you get the buffets. You get free buffets. And so he's picking up these things left and right. They're walking down the strip and he's just like, yeah, I'm getting all these buffets. And then they're crossing the street and he starts to flip through them. And he's like, what the heck is this?
Nice.
Not a single buffet that he wanted to visit.
Yeah, I can imagine. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Isn't that kind of the thing? And
Wow.
oh my goodness. That went our G rating.
All right. Sorry. I have to cut it out. So say what you were saying again.
I don't even know.
It's staying in there then.
Well, after that incredible tale.
Incredible sidetrack, yes.
That no one knew they needed to hear.
But they're all glad they did.
We're all glad we did. Back to Game Toppers, which are fantastic and did turn a lot of heads at SaltCon. We've talked about this before, but I just want to reiterate here that one of the things that makes them so great is their versatility. If you just need something mobile, portable, something you're just going to put up for a game night and then take right down, they work fantastic. But if you need something more permanent, if you need a permanent game table solution with leg kits and dining leaf tables and the whole 9 yards, they've got all that too, with all the accessories, mats, and anything else you might need to create an epic and amazing place to play games. So go check them out at GameToppersLLC.com.
We are the hosts of Meeple Nation. I'm Nathan Howard.
I'm Andy Holiday.
And I am Douglas Stewart.
We have a webpage, much like GameToppersLLC.com. That is MeepleNation.com. We have blogs, photos, bios, and an email link. You can always email us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you. We would love to chat about the latest game you've picked up and why we should pick it up. We very much look forward to those kind of emails as something that we should grab. We also have a link to our Patreon. Our patrons are what help keep us motivated, keep us going, and allow us to increase the tools that we use and the opportunities that we have to improve the podcast. We've run into several roadblocks as we're trying to improve to make some transitions. There's a learning curve, and we're hardworking, busy bees. I don't know where that came from.
Buzz.
And so it's hard to get the time to explore a whole new medium, but we're still trying eagerly to get to that point. So we appreciate and we love our patrons and their support. If you too would like to be a patron, jump over to our Meeple Nation webpage, or you can skip on over to Patreon/Meeple_Nation and find us there.
All right. So this week, guys, my wife has been playing a lot of games with me lately, which has been awesome.
That is awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I think she's still my top person that I've played games with so far this year.
Really?
Yeah. And I got her to play Champions of Midgard.
Oh, wow.
This week. Yeah. And so it took a little longer than it normally would have, but yeah, we played through the game. I enjoyed myself. My wife is really funny. She doesn't like help in games. Like I can point something out, like, if you did this, especially if it's her first game, I've learned to not do that.
Don't tell her how to play the game.
She does not like that. She's like, thanks for, and I didn't help her this time except for one time, the whole game. And she's like, thanks for letting me play my own game and kicking my butt.
I'm kicking my butt. Thank you for the bruising.
Because I did walk away with it, but I've learned that, her first time playing, I don't help her and she kind of figures it out and then we play again and she typically does a lot better. But it was definitely a heavier game that we typically don't play very heavy games with her. She complains a lot about the time it takes to play, but she didn't complain about this one. It was fun. And I love Champions of Midgard with the Valhalla expansion and the Dark Mountains expansion. It's a phenomenal game. I love it. And coming from a spot where I couldn't stand it when I first bought it and played it, I was so disappointed. But
Until you got that first expansion.
until I got the Valhalla. Valhalla fixed it. And we've talked about that a lot, that it was one of those games that felt like Valhalla was part of the original game and they took it out to sell it as an expansion. That's what it felt like to me, because it was just missing that piece. But I love Champions of Midgard, and I am thrilled that I actually got my wife to play that with me.
That is very awesome.
That's awesome. This one has been thrown around at my family, down in my game room, amongst my kids in particular a little bit lately. I think this one's going to hit our table again really soon. Seth is really jonesing to play this one again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's a great game. It's totally awesome. Now, quickly, as a side note, did you guys see a little while back that Gray Fox Games did a Kickstarter for the card games?
Yeah, I backed it.
I might have backed it too.
But you know what? They look phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like the roll and write that they have for that, it looks really good.
Yeah. Clans of Midgard
Yeah.
and Reavers of Midgard, the card game.
Yeah, the Clans of Midgard, I definitely am more interested in that. I'm really excited for that one to come out. The Reavers of Midgard, the card game, looks good as well, but that roll and write looks like it's right up my alley. It looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree. I'm super excited about that. So, and rumor has it that Gray Fox Games should be coming out with like a little bit more of a Ameritrashy third edition to this Midgard trilogy, because there was Champions of Midgard and then they did Reavers of Midgard. So apparently they've got another one, because I guess Champions was kind of their middle of the line game. Reavers was a little more Euro-y. And then this is supposed to be like kind of just all Ameritrash, but it's supposed to be a big kind of epic Viking themed third edition to the Midgard series.
Interesting. I'll be interested to try that out. I have the other two, so
Yeah. It's been rumored for a while though. So they gotta get on it. But I'm excited. That's a great one. I'm glad you got that one to the table.
Nathan, what have you been playing this week?
I want to talk about Maracaibo,
You always want to talk about Maracaibo.
but I won't.
You could. I mean, you can talk about it if you want.
We got to play it again. It was awesome.
What was the score last time we played?
I think I lost.
You did. I beat you.
Yeah, but I loved it.
But it was a great game.
Yeah, that was one though that we played, and I had 4 master
did.
builders,
Yeah.
and
the governor.
and the governor that gave me a discount. So I had a discount of 6 on any card that I built, and I should have won, but I volleyed that up.
When did you guys play this?
While you were gone.
Okay. This is a game night.
Yeah, on Friday
Nice.
night, game night.
Friday night, and it was great. Taught Mara. Was that her first time?
No, she'd played it once
Had she
before.
played it once
yeah.
before? We got the chance to play that, and we got the chance to play it with James, who is not chronically, but notorious for telling you that he's listening, but he's not. And so when we were teaching him the rules, it was very interesting to see him very, very much engaged with listening to the rules. And he picked up, and the highlight of the night was that James, when we teach James a new game, James tends to play his own game. And
he even started the game saying, I'm probably going to be playing a different game.
yeah, he didn't say probably. He said, I am going to be playing
Yeah.
a different game than the rest of you. And he didn't. He was pretty close in the score.
Yeah.
Very solid number 3, and was very much involved. And when we're almost done, I was like, hey, James, I don't know if you've realized this, but you're playing this game as intended. And he was like, yeah, I know.
And
I feel bad.
And he enjoyed it, right?
Yeah,
he
he
had
did.
a really good time, and it was kind of cool to see him pick that up as quickly as he did.
And so I wasn't planning on talking about Maracaibo, but I'm talking about Maracaibo, and I don't need to talk about anything else now, because it was a great highlight, because Maracaibo is great.
Yes, it is.
It really is. It really is.
And I'm playing it online with Doug, and I love it.
Yeah. Well, the online implementation is fantastic. It is so good.
Yeah.
I always look forward to my turn. And then I'm like, oh, now I got to wait to take my next turn.
I got to wait 35 more tables to get my turn back. And then Nathan was really busy at work, so he couldn't take his turn at lunch. And yeah, it's
a whole thing.
It's bad when you can only take one turn a day. But Maracaibo's awesome.
Maracaibo's awesome. Love it. Well, another really awesome game is It's a Wonderful World. And I've hit this one a few times in recent months, but that's because we have been making our way through these expansions for it. And so we got done playing War and Peace a while back, and we found it to be a fun experience, but a little underwhelming. And when that campaign ended, we were left with there's one additional little production board that gets added to the end of the main production board and some cards that you can shuffle in. And that's pretty much all that the game kind of leaves with you. Well, we sat down and we played and finally finished the Leisure and Decadence campaign. And wow, was that a different experience. It was so good.
So you completed it?
Yeah, we did.
Oh, awesome.
We finished it up. And this introduced a ton of new mechanics. The whole culture board, you can produce culture. You almost immediately just throw a ton of cards in, and then they can produce culture at that end step. There's also a new board that gets introduced that introduces workers into the game. So you can collect these little wooden worker meeples and start putting them on cards to produce resources and do things. Anyway, we finished up that campaign, and now we have 3 new modes we can play the game in, and a bunch of extra production boards that go on the end, and 60, 70 new cards that go in the deck, including a whole set of cards that goes into the Ascension and the main expansion that you can always just sort of throw in. Super excited about finishing this campaign. Played both of these with my daughter. Actually, my son joined us. Brigham joined us for this last campaign.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and what was great was the scores were really competitive, and we all got wins in. Brigham won a game, Amberly won a game or 2, and I won a couple games. So, it was competitive and fun, and everybody got a win, and we really had a good time. So I love It's a Wonderful World, and playing through these expansions has only made me love it more.
Well, your love for it made me pull it out of my coal pile, so I still own it.
Good.
So we need to play it here again.
Fantastic. I'm always game. And then I was going to throw out this one just really quick. This doesn't deserve, I think, a lot of talking about, but it's been on my shelf for a really long time. This is just a little card game that's been around since 1995. This is an old game. Yeah, it's an old Reiner Knizia game. This is High Society. And we had a chance to sit down and finally play this. And I liked it. I actually thought it was kind of a clever little card bidding game. You've got this central deck of cards that kind of represents your social status that you're going to bid on. And then you've got a handful of money, and you just bid on those cards as they come out and try to get your social status up. But what makes it fun is that throughout that deck of cards, you've also got these like faux pas and passe and a scandal card or whatever. And you have to bid on them. And whoever passes first is the one who has to take it. So also any money that you spend, you lose. So there's kind of a tight little balance. You can blow through your money too quick. Scoring's kind of interesting because whoever has the least amount of money at the end is automatically out. They can't win even if they've got a lot of social status. Anyway, it was just really fun to get kind of one of these classic old card games out and learn it and sort of experience it afresh. I played that one with my daughter and my wife. My daughter hated it. My wife really liked it.
That's awesome.
Probably because she won both games we played.
That could be a factor.
But High Society, an old, I think, fairly tried and true Reiner Knizia bidding card game. That was a lot of fun.
I'd like to try this with Cheryl. That'd be good to get her to try this as well. I think she would like this.
Yeah, I bet she would. I actually bet she would like it quite a bit.
Well, all right. Those were some great highlights. So let's get to the plate and discover what's on it. This week we are discussing. This week we are discussing cooperative games. And I don't know if you know this, but we seem to be a fan of cooperative games.
Yeah, I'm at least a fan of acquiring cooperative games.
I think we all have that issue too. I think Doug is the one that has successfully played more of his cooperative games than both you and I, Andy. But yes,
not to brag or anything.
Not to brag, but you only had 50 on your shelf of shame.
50. Actually, that's probably about right.
we have a joy for games, but all of our tastes are a little bit different. Andy very much loves his story-driven games. A lot of those are cooperative games. Doug, his all-time favorite game is Arkham Horror, 100% cooperative game. And then there's people like me who have a joy for some of those social games that bring out some of those hilarious moments and good times at a game night. Now, there are many similar tastes in our game choice as well. Obviously, there's a similarity in our choice because we get together weekly and we've been doing it for years. And there's a reason, because we share similar tastes. But it's going to be kind of interesting as we discuss some of our cooperative games and see what our take is. We'll have some crossover and we'll have some variants for sure.
Yeah, 100%. And what we might need to do is just do like a little across the table pinky promise or pinky swear or something, because this episode could go for hours and hours.
It could. Yeah. Somebody's got to keep an eye on the clock.
There's no end to, I think, how long we could talk about a lot of these games. Because a lot of our passion for the hobby rests in this mechanism.
Yes.
And the games that are within it.
Yep. Very much so.
Most of Andy's dungeon crawls are in this category.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
So we talk a lot about Gloomhaven. We've had tons of experience with Gloomhaven. Both Andy and I, we have had experiences with Jaws of the Lion. Doug, did you ever try Jaws? Did you ever try Jaws of the Lion with your house?
I have not yet, but I do have it on the shelf, and okay. I do want to play it. Yep, that's so. I got rid of Frosthaven because, again, I'm not sure if Frosthaven's going to be for me after playing Gloomhaven. But Jaws of the Lion is the next that is the next Gloomhaven experience I want to have.
Yeah.
So,
and I think you'll very much enjoy it. I
think so.
Yeah, we had a great time with it, and that's what was able to get Frosthaven to the table with my wife, was going through Jaws of the Lion. And so I think that is, it's a great place to start with some of those cooperative games, because as we go down this story-driven style, Andy's yay meters going all over the place.
Yes, it is.
And very much we enjoy these. And as we look at our top fives, there's a lot of those story-driven games. In fact, I don't see any that are not story-driven games.
Yeah, I think they all fives. Are. Yeah. So. Now, interesting that you bring up our top fives, because we already have made our top 5 lists and we're not talking about those today, yes. Which means as much as we love and have played Gloomhaven, it didn't make any of our top 5 lists.
Yep.
Which 2 years ago,
would have been different.
Maybe even as much as a year ago, probably would have been different.
Yeah. We've gotten more games to the table. We've gotten more opportunities to play different games. So Gloomhaven has drifted down our tastes are more refined. Yeah.
Pinky in the air.
Pinky up, yes. Funny French accent.
Well, let's get started then. So right. I want to talk about one that I have the first edition of. And Doug, I don't know if you still have the second edition. I think you do. I know you've been trying to sell it, but that's Massive Darkness.
Oh, no, it's not on the coal pile.
It's not. I thought, for some reason, I saw that you had tried to sell it.
Well, so I went through a period where I was like, okay, I needed to try to look at getting rid of games that just aren't really ever going to get played. And for a while I had it set aside as one of those that was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to get to the table. After I got thinking about it and looking at it and stuff, I was like, no, this is 100% going to hit the table eventually. It's really good. Massive Darkness 2 Hellscape is the version I have. You have the first edition of it. Now, I will just say the second edition is the superior edition. It is so much better.
You would hope that would be the case, right? With all games, but that's not the case with all games.
It's not the case with all games.
But we played this once with you with the second edition, and I've played first edition, but it has been a long time ago since I played my copy, and I liked it a lot, but I really enjoyed second edition too. And I don't even know what the differences are. Do you know what the differences are between first and second?
So yeah, I mean, they streamlined a whole bunch of stuff, but the big difference is that all the characters are like asymmetric mini games to play.
Yeah.
Which is the big, huge thing, because everybody's going to be doing something a little bit different. If you're playing the Mage Caster, you've got this little spell wheel in front of you. If you're playing the Ranger, you've got this kind of press your luck card game that you're playing as you pull out cards that have arrows on them. If you go too far, you might miss. But if you post up, you can get a bullseye. You've got kind of that Berserker class that generates a bunch of rage, but they're all playing a different mini game, and it makes that such a fun experience.
Yeah. No, the one of the things, at least what I liked about the first edition, was the skill tree. So there was a unique skill tree for every character. So they obviously didn't have the mini games going on with the first edition. Plus the components were just top notch. You had your tray for the player that you were playing. You had your sheet that you were going to write on for your skill tree, a spot for all your cards, pegs for your health, everything like that. In fact, I played this with my youngest son once, Caden, and he still, when are we going to play Massive Darkness again? And that's been like 3 or 4 years ago that I played it with him, and he's still, when are we going to play that again, Dad? It's one that I need to get to the table. It's also one that I had set up on the table, and we had...
is this the water one?
The plumbing or something. I can't remember exactly what happened, but we had water leak down into the game room, and it got on some of the tiles. And of course, you know what cardboard does with water.
Warp.
So I put all those tiles underneath heavy stuff, inside books, and I honestly don't know where all the tiles are.
Oh, shoot.
Because they're still being flattened somewhere. They have been for years. So I just need to find them so I can get the game put back together.
So your cousin Dennis backed this when it first came out, and that was the first time I got to play that. In fact, it was the only time I got to play that. And he was all in. So he had little boxes here, there, and everywhere, and we'd play through. And it was such a trial that when we'd face a monster, he's like, okay, I got to find that box. Because he had traveled with it. So it was, I think he had 3 totes with him, 3 gamer bags, and it was going through each one. And this would be a much different scenario if I had it here on my house and it was on the shelf. I knew exactly where everything was. But Dennis had it in 3 totes. When we had to fight a monster, he had to find it. And it took 15 minutes for it to find it, open up the box, and get it out. And for kind of that reason alone, that was like, yeah, I'm not anxious to play this again. But it sounds like I kind of missed something. I missed the boat on this one.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that Dennis went all in on this because he hates dungeon crawls now. They're like,
does he?
Oh yeah, he absolutely hates dungeon crawl games.
How could you hate dungeon crawl? They're amazing.
They are amazing. I don't know.
They're not all created equal. And if you had some bad experiences, I could kind of see it.
Yeah.
But that hurts my heart a little bit.
Yeah, mine too.
I'm gonna cry. So just to kind of move the conversation along a little bit, Nathan, earlier you had talked about Arkham Horror, the LCG. Also, not on my top 5.
That is weird.
That surprises me.
Right. But here's the thing. It is my favorite game of all time, but I have played a lot of that solo. And so when we created our top 5 list, and we'll talk about this more later, but I really was focused on the whole cooperative aspect and picked games that I thought were fantastic cooperative experiences.
Yeah.
And yes, Arkham is a fantastic cooperative experience, but it also can be a fantastic solo experience. And so it didn't quite make my top 5 list, but absolutely love Arkham Horror, the LCG. All of the Fantasy Flight LCGs are, in my opinion, fantastic. You've got Arkham Horror, The Lord of the Rings, and Marvel Champions. Now, they've had some other ones, but those 3 are kind of the big ones. They're still going. They're all cooperative. They've been successful. They're all still producing content. Like the content is being released for all 3 of those still currently. And they've really managed to find a fun way of creating a really robust and in-depth system that brings people together. I mean, it's all these cards, right? It's just card after card after card, but you get together for the deck building and you start to strategize about who's going to do what and what roles you want to play and how you're going to balance your group. And then you get setting cards out, and every scenario is different and has unique little aspects to it. And you fight a whole variety of monsters, and you get to see a whole variety of locations and terrains and all this kind of stuff. And I love those experiences. And I love it when a company can get really good at creating those kinds of experiences, which Fantasy Flight has proven that it can, and it does, because all of those LCGs are wonderful.
Yeah, they do a really good job with a lot of the stuff that they do.
Yeah, we are big fans of Fantasy Flight games. In fact, if we narrowed this list down to just Fantasy Flight games, we could probably still fill a couple of hours.
We probably could, for sure. But you bring up Arkham Horror, and none of us are going to bring up Arkham Horror,
the board game.
Well,
I'm certainly not going to bring it up.
Yeah, none of us are going to bring that up. We've all seemed to have had very negative experiences with that, with maybe either Alpha Gamer or this game is taking way too long.
Also, it's just kind of boring.
And it's just kind of boring.
And that, I'll be honest, that was the same experience I had with Eldritch Horror.
Yeah.
It's just kind of boring.
Yeah. Mansions of Madness, some that are cleaned that up a little bit. I very much enjoy Mansions of Madness, but I have one that I haven't played with either of you guys that I should give a try. Is it's called Arkham Horror Final Hour. And the premise of the game is it's trying to take that whole big Arkham Horror, the board game, and condense it to the final hour of that game. The Elder God's already been summoned, and so now you're trying to do everything to put that genie back in the bottle and survive. So it's I believe it's a 90-minute play and tries to give you that full Arkham Horror, the board game experience in a bite-sized pill.
This is an interesting one, Nathan. This is one that kind of made a quick blip on my radar and then kind of went away for whatever reason. I didn't know you had this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd love to give this one a try. It's kind of one of those that was like, ooh, that's interesting, but I'd like to, try it before I buy it kind of thing.
Yep.
And so that's great. I didn't know you had this.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Let's definitely play that.
Plays in an hour and gives that full experience, or not necessarily that full experience, but gives kind of gives you the best moments of the game, at least in my opinion. I know there's a lot of people that are going to be on the other side of that opinion for sure, and that is okay. But for me, this condenses all that into something enjoyable. So it's like Arkham Horror, but fun.
I was expecting a specific game to be on your top 5, Nathan, and it's not. And that is Pandemic Legacy.
I was expecting it too.
I was going to put it on there, but it's actually been a while. And as I look back, I mean, I very much have fond memories of Pandemic and the Pandemic system, which bleeds into the dice games, the different reiterations. There's even the Cthulhu-based one, and even going back to the Clone Wars that is based on that Pandemic system, Cooperative Games. But yeah, as I'm looking at games that are in my top 5, that if I thought that we were going to have the opportunity to sit down and play the Legacy version again, because it's actually been a while, especially for Season 2. I don't think I remember much anything about Season 2. In fact, I could probably go back and play Season 1 again. I mean, I know that there's one thing that's going to stick out forever for me, but I could totally play Season 2 again with full immersion, not knowing what to expect.
Well, absolutely. Right. Like I was thinking about this just the other day because I played through Season 1, but I didn't get a chance to play Season 2 or 3. I would play through Season 1 again in a heartbeat, but I would love to try Season 2 and 3.
Zero.
Season 0. Sorry, 0. You're correct. 0. But in my mind, it's 3 because it came out third. But
it did come out third, but it's back in time. But yeah.
Correct. But all of these are experiences I'm still kind of pining for. They've been out for a long time, and Pandemic's been around for a long time. And yet, the puzzle and the enjoyment of playing those legacy games at the table is still something that I want to do.
Yeah.
So if we can make time, man, I'd go through them. If we could find the time and energy and space to set it up and do it, I would be all for going through these legacy games again.
Yeah. And Season 2 has a lot more exploration, hidden kind of exploration in it. Something that is maybe you kind of replicate in Ticket to Ride, where you're exploring the map as Ticket to Ride Legacy expands. But Season 2 has far more exploring the world because it's post Season 1. People are living on boats. They've lost communication to the mainlands, and so they only make sporadic runs to the mainland to try to gather some resources before the infected find them. So there's whole exploration there that is very much enjoyable in Season 2 that I think both of you guys would very much enjoy.
Yeah, we started Season 2, but we didn't
make it very far. I think we just did the one session, didn't we?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I would very much be looking forward to play that.
Yeah. But that's why I didn't make it, because there's other things that I'm more anxious to play currently.
Doug, if I'm not mistaken, you backed this game, and I have backed this game. Now, David, Logan, myself, and Nathan tried to play it, and due to a very poorly written rule book, it kind of, I can't say it fell flat for us, but it was...
I know which one you're going for, and I love this.
But we struggled with it a little bit, and that is Etherfields.
Yeah, this was on my list of games to talk about because I think that this would have been a fantastic game to play with other people. I wish that I could have played it with others, but you guys had kind of had this bad experience with it, and it wasn't one my family was interested in playing. I played through the entire campaign. Well, there's technically 2 campaigns. There's a longer campaign and a shorter campaign. I played through both of them in that core box. Now, since the second wave has come, and so there's some new campaign material, but I finished everything in that core box, and I loved every freaking minute of it. It was so good. And yes, this had a problematic rulebook. It absolutely did. There were some barriers that were so hard for some people to overcome, and I get that. But this is one of the most unique and incredible games that I have ever played. And it absolutely would have made my top 5 list if it wasn't for the fact that I played it by myself. If you're going to make a top 5 cooperative games, you got to have experienced them cooperatively. They got to be a good cooperative experience. I bet it would be, but I have not experienced it.
It's still set up on my table in my kitchen.
Is it?
I will play this. I will play this anytime. It is so unique. The art is unique. This dream world that they created is so bizarre.
It really is.
And fun. And now, I will say, one of the biggest problematic things with Etherfields were those slumbers, because they got really repetitive. Now, at first it was kind of interesting because you were introducing new slumbers and they were all a little different, but they started to get repetitive and tedious. Now, Awakened Realms, so this is not a house rule. This is an official rule. They created an official variant, and there was even like a card you could print out and everything. With the second wave, it actually came with the official card, so you didn't have to print it, and it's all in there. And this is I forget the name of the mode off the top of my head, but it basically makes it so that those slumbers can be either skipped or quickly gone through, and it is fantastic. And so you can just go from dream to dream. You're traversing this really cool dreamscape, right? And then you're diving down into these individual dreams, basically. What a cool, and the story was actually really good. Kind of left some things vague, and like you're not 100% sure what's going on, but because of the dreams that you're experiencing, you kind of get a glimpse into what came before, how this all came about. Anyway, I'm glad you brought this one up. I loved Etherfields, and I can't wait to go in and play the rest of it. I'm hoping that maybe I can do that with more than just myself at the table.
Me too. Like I said, I want to play it. You told me about your experience, so that's why I set it up on my table. I set it up on one of my toppers, which, yeah, there's no way it can just sit there that entire time. So I moved it over to my kitchen on a table. So I'm like, I'll just bring it out when I'm ready to play. I think it's been there for over a year now.
Yeah, I notice it every time I go in there,
yeah,
and it makes me a little sad.
I want to play it. I got started on it. I got through the first scenario by myself, but I would be thrilled if we could get it to the table with a full player count. I think that'd be fun.
So how is this set up in your kitchen? And I have not seen it.
It's on the card table.
It's on a little card table in the kitchen.
Along the wall.
Is it?
Under the window. Yeah.
Okay.
Collecting dust. You probably couldn't see it under the dust.
Is that what it was? It's like I've been through your kitchen like 3 times in the last
every
year,
now and then
4 times.
Light kind of shines in from the window down onto it, like it's this,
And there's this
like that
angel
scene.
sing.
Yeah. Like that scene from Sword in the Stone when he's about to pull it and the angelic music starts to play. Yeah, that's a scenario.
And then
that
I walk
plays
away
it.
and it goes dark again.
Yeah.
I was just getting a soda.
I was just getting a soda.
Just warming up a pizza, Etherfields, calm down.
But it is one we need to get to the table. I want to like the game. It is very unique. I love how the cards
art
come
in it
out and
alone.
they orient themselves differently to modify the map. I mean, it's just the whole idea of it's really cool. I love it. So I want to experience it.
It is by far the most unique game I have ever played, and I love it.
Yeah. Very visually pleasing. And like you said, Andy, the way the cards are laid out, the way the board can manipulate and change is just amazing.
It's cool. And it's Awakened Realms, so their miniatures are
Top notch.
Out of this world, they're so good.
So good.
Yeah, amazing. And for that game in particular, you just sit and stare at them. I mean, they're just incredible. Now, speaking of Awakened Realms, jumping over just a little bit, because Awakened Realms really does make great games, and they make some great cooperative games. ISS Vanguard. So this is one that I got out and I learned and I started playing through it, and I ended up putting it away because I was like, there is no way I am going to play this game without at least trying to play it with Nathan. Now here's the thing, and this is not a slight to Andy, to Dave, to any of the other Meeple Nation people or anyone we play with. However, of everybody who might really enjoy this game, Nathan, I think you are the one that appreciates exploration and discovery the very, very most.
Yeah, this game is very much in my radar.
Yeah, and that's what this game is. It is absolutely exploration and discovery. And the worlds that sort of you explore and then that unfold and you get to go and have these away missions on and everything is really incredible. Now, all of the gameplay is like ship management for the one phase and then away missions for the other. So unlike a game like Stars of Ikarios, which is another great cooperative game.
So I've heard.
Yeah. You don't have like the space dogfights. There's not a lot of like ship engagement in space or fighting, that kind of thing. It's, space exploration and ship management combined with these away missions where you send your team down to do different things on the surface of these various planets. So good. And I absolutely love the dice system and everything else about it. But it was one of those games that I got 3 or 4 games into it, 3 or 4 worlds that I had explored. It was set up at the table. I was making my way through it. And I was just like, there's no way. I got to at least try this with Nathan. He has to see this because I really think it's up your alley.
Yeah, it's been on my radar. It's something that I've looked for and considered buying at game swaps. But now that I know you have it, I will bypass those game swaps and look for a Doug swap.
Yeah, I love it. and I do think that this game is probably ideal at probably 2 players.
Oh, really? Even better.
Yeah, I think so. So that way you can each control 2 of the characters. This is one where you have like a book that has a map, so the planets, you sort of unfold the book. I think you need to have both players be able to see that book. You know what I mean? And if you had more players around the table, I think it would get frustrating for some who maybe couldn't see everything that was going on or whatever. But I think if you had 2 people, I think that's the ideal, player count for this one. And I think you just dive in. I was a little leery of even the ship management part at first. I was like, well, this seems like work. But as you go, those decisions are hugely impactful on gameplay and really fun to make. And you've got to decide because you can't do it all. It's like, well, am I going to manufacture, certain upgrades, or am I going to go put out some fires over here? Because I can't do both.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it really forces you to make those decisions. Am I going to do some research, or am I going to focus on building up my recruits? It has this really cool mechanic where you are essentially slowly waking up your crew from cryo sleep. But that's a thing you have to spend energy to go do, is go like, hey, we need more crew to go and explore. And so it gives you more options for your away teams and stuff like that. But again, if I decide to do that, I may be foregoing some other things that I could be doing. And so that ship management phase is phenomenal. But ISS Vanguard is one we need to get to the table.
Yeah, it makes even just talking about it makes me think I need to get to the. Recently, I did a rule surge where I read through several rule booklets, got a few of them to the table. As I was reading things, I was reading Evacuation. We've talked about this in the past. You're establishing a new world, and you're trying to move your economy from the old world to the new world. And the whole time I'm reading this, I'm like, I should be reading Last Light. And the whole time you're talking about ISS Vanguard is like, I need to get some more of these space epic sci-fi games to the table because that theme really does appeal to me. Speaking of these games that I've gone through that are the epic space tales, there is Secrets of the Lost Station, which is one that I backed it was fulfilled right before COVID. So we played our first game of it. Then isolation happened, and I completed this game on my own. And this is a game that I think both of you would like. There's Secrets of the Lost Station and Secrets of the Lost Tomb, which are very similar in feel. In fact, they're doing a Secrets of the Lost Tomb 10-year. Just went through crowdfunding not too long ago. It should be fulfilling sometime next year, maybe even this year at the end of the year. But these games are, Andy, something that you'll very much enjoy because it is, as you're going through either the station or you're going through the tomb, you're going to be revealing tiles as you go. And so you're building a map as you're drawing tiles, similar to like Betrayal at House on the Hill.
Okay, yeah.
Where you don't know the next room until you draw it out of the stack. Could be anything in there. And you're looking for specific rooms, and you shuffle up a stack of, say, 20 rooms, and you need to make sure that you've discovered and gotten to 5 of these rooms. Both very interesting, both very good. I enjoy them. The 10-year anniversary Secret of Lost Tombs is something that I'm looking forward to giving a shot. But the Secrets of the Lost Station was something that I went through the first campaign, and the book came with 4 or 5 campaigns that you could go through. And again, that's something I think all of us would enjoy if we could only get the time to get to it. That is definitely going to be after ISS Vanguard, because that just bumped way up on my list.
Yeah, we got to get that played. I'm curious about some of these games. We've talked a lot about the story, the narrative-driven dungeon crawly, that type of cooperative game. How do you guys feel about the cooperative games like The Reckoners or Atlantis Rising Second Edition, where maybe not as much on the narrative. I mean, there is kind of a background narrative, but it's really more about solving the puzzle together. In the Reckoners, you are kind of building your character up with some gear, but for the most part, you're just trying to put out fires with the epics around the board, all in an effort to progress the game to the point where you can take out Steelheart. And then in Atlantis Rising, it's all about collecting resources to build components to the machine, that kind of thing. And so I'm just curious, like how do those fit when you think about cooperative games? I love those games, but I don't feel like we play them very much.
Yeah, I don't think I own a ton that are like that either. There's games that are similar, like Space Alert, that is you're working together to try to complete that puzzle. There's even simple dice games like Fuse and Fuse Countdown, where you're trying to defuse bombs in a 10-minute time frame. I like those games. I find that those games are entertaining. You look at games like Betrayal Legacy or Betrayal at House on the Hill, where it is still you're going together to explore until that haunt happens and the game changes. I like that mentality in a game. I like that feel in a game, but obviously for us, our cooperative games tend to be more of those epic story-driven games. But there's definitely a desire to play these games, mostly because they're one-offs, right? You'd bring up the Reckoners. That's you have to work together to solve that puzzle. You have to work together to defeat Steelheart, but then you're done. And the
next time you play it, you're trying to defeat Steelheart again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And it's something that you can play next week. You can play it in 3 weeks. You can play it in a year and a half and still come back to that and have that experience. And you can do that with Secrets of the Lost Tomb. That is kind of along that same lines. Secrets of the Lost Station has more of an epic story to go with it. But having those games like the Reckoners, even games like cooperative games like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, the board game, where you're going through those experiences, those one-off experiences, I think are great because they are something that you can work together, but not necessarily campaign-driven.
I think it depends on the game for me. Depends on the puzzle. When I think of a cooperative puzzle game, like I think of Forbidden Sky, where you're trying to build that circuit to launch the spaceship.
I was going to bring up the Forbidden games because they're all kind of like that, right?
They really are. And you do have to work together.
Desert,
So we played Forbidden Jungle, which is the newest one. We played that at BGG.
Oh, you did get to play that.
And we lost like the first 4 games.
Really?
Yeah. It was a little more difficult than some of the other Forbidden series.
Interesting.
I like that they're more difficult.
That actually makes me want to get it more.
So, and I really enjoyed it, but I like games like that where there is a legitimate puzzle that you have to solve. It entices the players to actually work together when there's not just an alpha gamer that's going to come in and just take control of it. I like it when there's a little more, hey, let's figure this out. Let's work together, and I think that's kind of the downfall to a lot of cooperative games where there is a puzzle is you have that alpha gamer that comes in and says, nope, you have to do this. And then you have to do this and this. I've got it all figured out. And that really detracts from the fun of those games.
Right. I know Pandemic, people will oftentimes, that's their biggest criticism of the classic Pandemic and a lot of the games that came after is that alpha gamer problem.
Yeah. And I've ran into that with a lot of games, even games like Star Wars Imperial Assault, where you would have somebody who was there trying to enjoy the game, but you had somebody else who wanted to play the game for them, needed them to do something this way because it made sense to them.
Right. Yeah.
To them.
Yeah. But what about games like there's the Unlock series, the Exit series, the Deckscape, Echoes, Crimes and Capers series, where there's that puzzle?
I like those. I like those at lower player counts.
I totally agree with that.
3 tops, in my opinion, is about where those shine for me. You get a 4th, 5th player in there, then you have someone that's just sitting back and watching.
Yeah.
I think that's 100% true. Yeah.
So even 2 players is great. I would rather play it with 2 players than solo. Solo games don't appeal to me very much, playing games solo. I like sharing that experience with somebody. And the games that we've played, like the Exit games and the Unlock games, I've thoroughly enjoyed. And if you're by yourself, you're like, oh, I'm so clever. I figured, oh, yeah, by myself.
Oh, yeah. Hey, high five.
Yeah. Right?
Way to go, me.
It's just more enjoyable to play it with multiple people.
No, I totally get that. I play several games solo, but I find so much more enjoyment playing games with people. And I think I'm going back to Arkham Horror. That's why I ended up calling Arkham Horror, because I was only the card game. I was only playing that solo, and it just didn't sing for me solo.
I think as far as cooperative games go for me, I think it's about the experiences at the table, and certain games will create those. And other ones not so much. Like I think of Shadows over Camelot. It's not my favorite game. Cooperative, it has a hidden role element to it,
but it could be a fully cooperative game.
It very, very easily could be a fully cooperative game, and there's some anxiety to it, and you're basically trying to hold everything back so you don't lose. But for me, it doesn't really create any moments that I'm like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. That was such a cool point in that game that this and this and this happened. It's just, I'm gonna go defeat some catapults because we've almost lost because of that.
Yeah.
Right. There's nothing really exciting about it. Even though it's very, very steeped in theme, it doesn't really ring any bells for me because it doesn't create those moments, those exciting moments that you get to share with the people at the table, that you are giving high fives, right? You are excited. I like games that will spur on memories. Like we'll be playing this and I'm like, oh my gosh, that reminds me of that time we were playing this specific game and this crazy thing happened, or you rolled the dice and you were able to just kind of destroy whatever monster or whatever, right? Or this part of the story. Do you remember when that happened and it threw us all for a loop?
Well, we're going to talk about those experiences with both mine and your top 5 lists.
Right.
Unlike you, Andy, I have a ton of memories playing Shadows over Camelot that spurred some great memories. Shadows over Camelot can definitely be played with no traitor element, but I think that makes the game dumb.
Nice.
And
but what about the zombie one? Last winter, the long winter. Help me out. The winter one.
Endless Winter?
No.
Neverwinter. No, not Neverwinter Nights.
This is all got to stay in the podcast, by the way. I was sitting here going like, oh, the zombie. What was it? Winter.
No,
this is embarrassing.
It is.
Dead of Winter, The Long Night.
Dead of Winter.
Dead of Winter. That's it. Dead of Winter. So what about a game like Dead of Winter? Because that also has that semi-cooperative thing, and I think that you should chuck that right out the window.
The semi-cooperative?
Yeah, because you were just saying you should definitely play it that way with Shadows of Camelot. I'm saying you should definitely not play it that way in Dead of Winter.
No traitor risk, no chance of a traitor in Dead of Winter.
No chance of a traitor. It's so dumb in Dead of Winter.
I've had some great experiences with Dead of Winter with the traitor, because you're totally working together with somebody and then you're at the end, oh, by the way, I have all the resources and I'm going to win. And you're not.
I think that's so lame. I hate that so much.
And that's something I very much enjoy in those games like Dead of Winter, Battlestar Galactica, Shadows over Camelot. You have that risk of, can I trust this person or can I not? And I think Dead of Winter does it really well, because even if everybody is playing cooperative, you have those personal goals in Dead of Winter that makes it look like you're not playing cooperative. And if you take out that traitor element, then it just becomes kind of lame that, oh, you're just hogging that, so that must be for your goal, whatever. Whereas if, oh, you're hoarding that because you're the traitor. And so in me anyways, it instills that kind of panic that brings a little bit of that realistic panic into apocalyptic zombie overrun scenario where you want to work together. You want to be in a tribe of people, but human nature makes people greedy. And you have to say, is that because they need something, or is that because they're just being a jerk and they're keeping it for themselves?
Buying all the toilet paper.
Exactly.
I like to believe in the human spirit. Okay, Nathan? I like to think that we all bonded and came together to defeat the zombie threat.
I like to believe that too, but the cynicalness in me knows that that's not going to happen.
Well, and and I get that can spur on some experiences, maybe negative experiences for Doug and positive experiences for Nathan. But one of the games that really struck a chord that comes to my mind of cool, epic things that have happened is Forgotten Waters.
Forgotten Waters is great.
So good.
just
Not a cooperative game, but
well, it is kind of.
It is definitely the semi-cooperative kind. I mean, you've got to become the best pirate that you can be. You definitely want to win the game as the best pirate,
But you have to work together
but
to
you
do it.
have to work together to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of those moments are ingrained in my memory and will never leave.
and a lot of that is due to the app and the
Yes.
And the voice work
the
that is
voice
just
work
so
was-
good.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
epic writing. The voice work was amazing. And just the amount of laughs we had at the table playing that game has been unparalleled, I think, to any other game we've played that's like that, right?
Yeah.
That's a cooperative game.
Insults that were thrown.
Yes.
That was so great.
Which makes me super excited to try Freelancers.
Yes,
I really want to try that.
that was a game that I almost picked up the rules to read too. There's so many. That's the problem with having so many games that I need to read rules. Which is my favorite child. What game do I want to spend the most time with in the next little bit? And I picked several up to play with my wife. Evacuation is one that I want to play here on our game night. But Freelancers is one that I'm anxious to try because I've heard that they've kicked out a lot of the bugs. They've worked out a lot of those issues to make it something superb. And I'm very much looking forward to it as well.
And Plaid Hat is still just knocking these Crossroads games out of the park, which makes me super excited because after Freelancers, they just announced a new one called Wandering Galaxy. So this is your space-themed Crossroads game, and it does look really good. I don't know a whole lot about it, but this one's going to
backing
be,
it. I'm buying it.
but it was like Nathan just like insta back, insta buy, insta pre-order. It's mine.
I very much enjoy the sci-fi theme.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, it's not a surprise to anybody, Nathan.
no.
You love your sci-fi.
I do. My
So-
laser guns and my laser swords.
Pew 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 pew.
Well, we can't have a discussion about cooperative games and not talk about Zombicide.
Yeah.
Zombicide.
Yeah.
It wasn't on my list because I don't own it, but I have very much enjoyed Zombicide.
Zombicide, and
is
we can
amazing.
we can group Marvel Zombies into that. And yeah, those games are second edition in particular.
Yep.
Is so amazingly fun. I remember when I was looking at first edition when it first came out, and I could not pull the trigger. Second edition came out, and I'm like, I'm not really into zombies, and it looks like it might be fun, but I can't do it. Then we played at Doug's house.
And we played with the presidents.
Yes.
And it was epic.
It was epic, and now I'm a lot poorer.
Yes. Are you though? I mean, your wallet might be, but I think you yourself are very rich.
Oh my gosh, what a phenomenal game!
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
I've just been loving the Marvel Zombies
Yes.
game and all of the expansions and stuff. Like they're great.
They really are.
We kind of played the core box and then we jumped into the X-Men, and now I want to go try some of the others. What I really want to do is sit down and actually play one of the like sort of back, they have the scenarios that kind of are back to back. It's not really a campaign. You can play them all, independently,
But they're related.
you chain them together and they do kind of tell a rough story.
Yeah,
And I really like that. And I'd really like to do that with one of those boxes.
I agree. If we should do it, start with one of the smaller boxes because I'm guessing that they probably have the shorter
I
number
bet
of
they do.
scenarios. So maybe we do the Sinister 6 one or the.
Ooh.
Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And of course, Deceased is just around the corner. It's just the DC version instead of the Marvel version. And that's going to be my jam. I've gone all in on that. I have everything coming and I can't wait for it to fulfill. That's going to be my Zombicide of choice. I can tell 100% for sure.
Awesome.
That is awesome.
Zombicide's just great. Fun cooperative experience. Just a plethora of characters to play. And like you said, with the Marvel stuff, it's been the sculpts. I've been really impressed with the miniatures in that too. Like they're really well done. And I mean,
Fantastic.
Simon has done a good job with that.
Yeah.
I got to hand it to him. We trash on Simon a lot, and a lot of it's well deserved. But
It's just because of how it's their business practice
It
running
is.
their Kickstarters, which is despicable. And I hate them. And yet Simon is amazing and I love them and I want them to make more good stuff.
exactly, exactly, that's exactly right.
They're one of those companies that you just love to hate and hate to love. It's just, do better. Also, you're awesome.
Do better. Also, you're awesome. I like it.
Well, we're getting a little bit long, and I know we could keep going and keep going. One thing that I thought would be really fun to do to just kind of wrap it up is I would like to know what some, I really want to know what some of the cooperative games, because we've got a massive list here, and I know a lot of these are on our shelf of shame. What are some of the cooperative games on your lists that you're looking forward to getting to soon? Like if you had to pick, not necessarily like a top 5, but if you just had to pick like, just a handful of your cooperative games that you haven't played that you're really looking forward to getting to the table, hopefully sometime in the next, couple of months, what's on your horizon? What are you really looking forward to?
I have 3.
Okay.
First is XCOM, the board game. I really want to try it. I love the video game. And or the XCOM 2 anyway, I've never played the original, but I'm hoping that it stays true to form on the feel of the video game. So I really want to try that. I have a bunch of these Dungeons and Dragons dungeon crawl games that are supposed to play in an hour.
Okay.
And I really want to get one of those to the table.
Like the Castle Ravenloft
Yes.
and Legend of Dritz. Those is that what you're talking
That's
about?
what I'm talking about.
I want to play those too.
And I'm going to start with the Legend of Dritz because R.A. Salvatore, I love his books and the whole Drizzt. I've read all of them. So all of Drizzt's stories and everything, I've read all of those. And so I'm going to start with that one. And then finally, I want to start over with Folklore with you, Doug, so that you can have a better experience with that amazing game.
Yeah, I would like that too. And I will just tell you that's the only way I will jump back into that is if we did a fresh start with a fresh character.
But I think because it's so good, it's such a good game, and I think you would like it if that was the case.
I bet I would. Yeah, I bet I would.
Started anew. All of us started with new characters and just started plugging away at it.
And I don't mean this as any offense to the people we've been playing with, but if we could manage it, maybe just a little bit lower of a player count too.
For sure. Yeah, I think 4 tops.
Yeah,
three
I
or
think
4,
that sounds about right.
4 tops.
Yep, I like it. Well, a couple of them that I have on my radar that I'm really looking forward to. I just got all of my Chronicles of Drunagor stuff, and I can't wait to play that.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. We started playing it back in the day, and then they announced all the upgraded stuff and new rules and everything, and we put it away. We were like, okay, we're going to wait for the second edition and the new stuff to come out to really enjoy it and play it through. And I'm so glad that I did because I've got it all organized. I went and read all the rule books, and I just cannot wait to get this one to the table. So Chronicles of Drunagor is one. I really want to get Sleeping Gods to the table.
Me too. So badly.
Either one.
Yeah.
And we started playing Sleeping Gods. It's the original one. It's kind of the one that I feel like we should start with.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't hurt my feelings one little bit if we just jumped into Distant Skies. They both look great, and I really want to play them. And then we already kind of talked about Marvel Zombies. I'd love to play through like the story, like a sequential playthroughs of that. And I just got all my Unsettled stuff from Orange Nebula Games, and I'm really looking forward to diving into that. So, as well as Deliverance, actually. Deliverance is Lowen Games, I think, produced that one, but it's got kind of this real world biblical characters. So you play as like angels and stuff, but it's a dungeon crawl.
Oh, really?
And it looks really, really good.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool.
One that I am very anxious to get to is this Bureau of Investigations in Arkham and elsewhere. I think this is one that we would all very much enjoy, diving more into this Arkham from a story-driven side that is you're investigating instead of, well, I guess you're still investigating in the other ones, but this one has some twists that the story in it is something I'm looking forward to.
Sorry.
The Legends of Sleepy Hollow. Remember that game, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one that I'd like to get to.
We need to.
Are we finally going to get that one to the table? Finally?
I'm going to have to reread the rules. I read the rules and was ready for Halloween, not last year, but the previous year.
When it first came out, yeah.
And we didn't end up playing it, so the rules are going to have to be reread.
Yeah. And then also, I have this fun little, been picking up these expansions for this micro macro for a long time. And this is one where you have these sheets that kind of like find Waldo, where's Waldo? And you're trying to solve the puzzle, solve the mystery, solve the crime as you're trying to look at all these puzzles, this big drawing and trying to match what happened and who did what. I have all this content for these, and I really want to get these a shot.
Yeah, it's sort of like there's these little like mysteries that are, and all the clues are scattered. Like it shows like a detail or like what happened from place to place to place, and you kind of have to like suss out exactly what happened and what led to what. Yeah, it seems like a really intriguing game.
Yeah.
I believe this was a Spiel des Jahres winner.
It could have been. I can't remember.
I'm almost positive that it was. And I was really excited. I saw it on your table like a couple weeks ago or something. One of the expansions maybe or something like that. But
the newest expansion.
Yeah, I was really excited. I was like, ooh, I hope we get to play that one soon.
Yeah, I've seen pictures where people have put it all on the wall. They've like taped it all up to the wall so it looks like this giant conspiracy wall, so they can refer to the wall and go back and say, hey, this is this, and there.
That's awesome.
I don't have the room for something like that, but I don't have the wall space because it's all covered in games. But I like the idea of this. I really want to try this out, and it's just getting that time to get to it. And I have a couple little zombie games that have always just kind of perked my interest. We got the Lost Ones, Until Daylight, where you're trying to survive. And this new one that I've actually read the rules and I want to give this a try is this Omicron Protocol, which is, I'm kind of up in the air. I want to give it a shot since I've read the rules, but I'm kind of up in the air as how this one's going to play out. And there's a game that I really want to play, and I got it mostly just because of the name. And sometimes these games are gems, sometimes they're throwouts, but this is Noobs in Space. And just the name alone has me excited to try it.
What was the library one you bought a while back?
Really Loud Library.
Really Loud Library. You've been buying a few more games just based on the title alone.
I have, and what was that? And That's How I Died.
That's How I Died.
Yeah,
There's a goat on my roof, or whatever that was called.
Hey Pa, there's a goat on the roof.
Hey Pa, there's a goat on the
That's
roof.
from ages ago.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But there's lots of games that are out there that we have that we need to explore for sure, and lots of games that we have explored that need to be explored more. Let's go explore stuff.
Let's do it.
I love it. And I can't wait to get to our top fives, because that is going to be a fun discussion as well.
Indeed it is.
So until next time,
We'll see you on pins and needles as you wait for our top 5 at the game table.
Thank you for listening and being a part of Meeple Nation. If you would be so kind as to follow, subscribe, share, and rate or review this podcast, it really helps to spread the fun. You can be more involved in supporting the podcast by joining the nation at patreon.com/MeepleNation, or you can find a link at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. And while you're there, look at all our extra content. There are links to all our past episodes, a wide variety of blogs, pictures from our Instagram feed, and bios for all the hosts and our awesome bloggers. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, all under Meeple Nation. If you would like to chat with the hosts or other members of the nation, you can join our Facebook group, Meeple Nation Off Air. We hope to see you again at a game night, a con, or maybe a suspense-driven evening of Werewolf. Thank you for listening and supporting Meeple Nation, and stay tuned for next week's episode.
Thank you so much for listening. We very much want to thank our patrons who help keep the podcast running. I personally want to thank my co-hosts for all the help they provide with both content here on the podcast, in addition to what we have available on our website. Without them, the podcast would not happen. If you too would like to support the podcast, you can join the nation at patreon.com/Meeple_nation. Or you can find a link to Patreon at the top of our webpage, meeplenation.com. If you have any questions, comments, or games you feel should be on our radar, you can always reach us at meeplenation@gmail.com. We can't wait to hear from you. I am grateful to Doug and Andy who helped me edit episodes, and I want to thank James and Kim Clark who do the editing on our blogs and on our webpage, which can be found at meeplenation.com. We want to thank Brain Detergent for our music. If you want to find more from him, you can follow his links that can be found on our webpage, or simply search for Brain Detergent on YouTube to find more of his tracks. Thank you again for listening and being part of the Meeple Nation community.